Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News and Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Jumai Manson. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. You can download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. Now the news in full. President Bola Tinubu has signed into law 4 tax reform bills on key areas of Nigeria's fiscal and revenue framework. Tinubu signed the bills at a ceremony held at the Aso Rock Presidential Villa, Abuja. The 4 bills include the Nigerian Tax Bill, the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to modern, safe and efficient public transportation infrastructure in the Federal Capital Territory. The president, represented by the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, made the affirmation while commissioning the newly completed Kubo Bus Terminal in Abuja, one of several modern terminals designed to ease commuting challenges in the city. Our FCT correspondent, Godwin Sunday, tells us more.
In a colorful ceremony attended by top government officials, community leaders and stakeholders, President Bola Tinubu, represented by the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, officially commissioned the Kubo Bus Terminal on behalf of the President. The facility is part of a broader strategy to reorganize urban transit and enhance security in the Federal Capital Territory to tackle issues such as traffic congestion, disorganized roadside pickups, and rising transport-related criminality in Abuja. This terminal will operate on a 24/7 model featuring passengers' amenities like food courts, restrooms, relaxation zones, cinema halls, and ATMs. While speaking at the commissioning, the President thanked the Federal Capital Territory Minister for the initiative, describing the project as a significant milestone in Abuja's transport evolution.
At the swearing-in of my government 2 years ago, I swore to uphold and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and its people. With the security reports on the several menaces of one-chance robberies, kidnapping, and thuggery that characterize public transportation in Abuja, I directed Mr. Project, the Honorable Minister of the FCT, to put in place measures to address that situation.
The FCT Minister, Barrister Nyesom Wike, thanked the President and affirmed that the terminal will be privately managed under government supervision, ensuring efficiency and sustainability.
I want to sincerely thank you, Mr. President. When you go inside there, you'll be able to say that, look, I think people should be able to, even if I don't like you, if you do something good, appreciate it. Mr. President, you do something which has changed the landscape of Abuja.
Godwin Sunday, reporting for Global Television News.
Still on, President Bola Tinubu has declined to sign the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency (NDLEA) Amendment Bill 2025 into law. In a letter addressed to the House of Representatives and read on the floor by Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, the President cited constitutional and transparency concerns for withholding assent. Uyi Agbomofuegbe completes the story.
The President, referencing Section 58, subsection 4 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, explained that the bill seeks to empower the NDLEA to retain a portion of proceeds from drug-related crimes, a move, he said, contradicts existing financial regulations. He noted that under the current system, all proceeds of crime are paid into the government's confiscated and forfeited properties accounts. Disbursements to any recovering agency, including the NDLEA, can only be made by presidential approval, subject to the consent of the Federal Executive Council and the National Assembly. The President maintained that there is no compelling reason to alter a process designed to uphold accountability through executive and legislative oversight.
My decision is that the bill seeks to give the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency power to retain a portion of the proceeds of drug-related crime. Currently, all proceeds of crime must be paid into the confiscated and forfeited properties account. In addition to this, payments to the relevant organization responsible for recoveries can only be made by the President, subject to the approval of the Federal Executive Council and the National Assembly.
Meanwhile, 2 members of the House of Representatives have defected to the All Progressives Congress APC. Honorable Chimobi Sam Atu, representing Enugu South and Enugu North, and Honorable Joseph Uwombasi, representing Eza North, Ishielu Federal Constituency in Ebonyi State, announced their departure from the Labour Party and the All Progressives Grand Alliance, respectively, citing persistent internal crisis and the need to align with President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. The Speaker, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, formally announced their defections on the floor of the House. Following the announcement, Minority Whip Honorable Issa Jezi, relying on Section 68, subsection 1G of the 1999 Constitution, urged the Speaker to immediately declare Honorable Atu's seat vacant.
After holistic consultations with my constituents and critical stakeholders, I have, therefore, moved to the All Progressive Congress effective today. This decision was necessitated by the persistent internal crisis plaguing the Labour Party, both at the national level and within the state chapter.
From the Labour Party to appeal to you to quickly declare the seat of the member vacant immediately. This, since he has violated Section 68 1G of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that you should declare his seat vacant and be courageous enough to do that today.
Uyi Agbomofwegbe, reporting for Global TV News.
In another development, President Bola Tinubu has called for the fight against drug abuse and illicit trafficking to evolve into a national movement, stressing that only holistic, inclusive, and approach can successfully tackle the scourge. The President declared in a keynote address delivered on his behalf by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, at the grand finale of the 2025 World Drug Day commemoration held at the Presidential Villa Conference, Abuja. Tinubu underscored that combating substance abuse and trafficking is not a task for the government alone, but must be championed by families, civil society, youth groups, faith leaders, community organizations, businesses, and individuals with lived experience, and reaffirming Nigerians' commitment to global effort to end drug abuse. Vice President Kashim Shettima has departed Abuja for Addis Ababa's Ethiopia on an official state visit on the invitation of the Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed Ali. During the visit, Vice President Shettima will participate in the official launch of Ethiopia's Green Legacy Program, a flagship environmental initiative. The program is designed to combat deforestation, enhance biodiversity, and mitigate the adverse effects of climate change targets and planting of 20 billion tree seedlings over 4 years. The Nigerian Senate has confirmed the chairman and board members of the Southwest, South-South, and North Central Development Commissions. The approval came after the chairman of the relevant Senate committees presented their reports during plenary session. Over now to Kike Lemo Okere.
The committee hereby recommends that the Senate do confirm the nomination of the underlisted person as chairman, managing director, and members of the Southwest Development Commission. 1. Senator Olubunmi Adebunmi as chairman.
During the confirmation process, Tijani Laura, a nominee for South-South Development Commission Board, was dropped due to his failure to submit the necessary documents required for screening.
The Senate do confirm the nominations of the unlisted persons as chairman and members of the Governing Council of the North Central Development Commission. 1. Barrister Cosmas T. Aki, chairman. Dr. Senyir Cyril Yetsin, Managing Director.
Additionally, Minority Leader Abba Moro raised concern about the leadership composition of the North Central Development Commission, pointing out that it was incomplete.
That the appointment is a call to serve our nation by Mr. President, and they should do all within their powers to make sure that they discharge their duties diligently, so that the intention of Mr. President to develop our nation will be realized.
Despite these issues, the Senate proceeded to confirm all nominees for position across the three development commissions. In a similar development, the Senate confirmed the appointment of Oludare Sunday and Kabir Katata as the new Managing Director and Executive Director of the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC. The confirmation took place during Thursday plenary following the report by the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, chaired by Senator Adetokunbo Abiru.
The Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, after robust engagement with the nominees and being satisfied with their experiences, performance and academic qualifications, hereby recommends as follows: that the Senate do confirm the combinations of the underlisted as Managing Director and Executive Director of NDIC. 1. Mr. Thompson Oludare Sunday as the Managing Director.
Mr. Thompson Oludare Sunday is hereby confirmed as the Managing Director of the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation. The nomination of Dr. Kabir Sabo Katata is hereby confirmed as the Executive Director of the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation.
Following Thursday's confirmation, Oludare and Katata are expected to immediately assume their role at the NDIC, a key institution in safeguarding Nigeria's banking system and depositors fund. Kike Lomo Okere, Global Television News.
Deputy Senate President Barau Jibrin has reaffirmed his loyalty to President Bola Tinubu, referring to him as a political father and pledging to execute any directives issued by the president. Ramsey Enoch Agbo has details.
Speaking to journalists at the National Assembly, the Deputy President of the Senate, Jibrin Barau, provided an update on the upcoming Constitution Review Town Hall meetings set to take place nationwide, highlighting the collective nature of President Tinubu's success. Barau stated that when the president succeeds, we all succeed.
Whatever the president, let me tell you, I'm very loyal to him. Yes, but you see, Mr. President is a very kind-hearted person. When we had our problem in Kano, he was the one who resolved our issues for us and made it possible for me to be given the ticket to come to the Senate. He stood by me to become the Deputy Senate President. So if today, if the time comes and he said, I want you to work with me, all I'll say, thank you, sir.
Senator Barau also outlined the Senate's comprehensive approach to the Constitution review process, stressing the critical role of inclusivity and public engagement. He revealed that the Senate Committee on Constitution Review has received numerous memoranda and bills from Nigerian citizens and civil society organizations.
To have zonal public hearings where we allow Nigerians will be given the opportunity to come in to ventilate their views with respect to their to whatever they feel should be done to the Constitution. So what we are going to listen to hear from these people, from our people in the zones, is not restricted to what we have gotten. It's an open space for people to bring in whatever they want to bring.
Senator Barau emphasized that the hearings are open to all Nigerians, regardless of profession or social status, welcoming participation from professionals, academics, grassroots representatives, and every citizen interested in shaping the nation's future. Ramsey Enoch reporting for Global TV News.
The House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the Nigerian police force over multiple allegations of corruption, abuse of office and financial misconduct threatening national security. The resolution followed a motion of urgent public importance sponsored by the Ibe Osonwa, Mark Esset and Mohammed Jafaru, who noted that the police constitutional mandate to protect lives and property is being undermined by raising reports of procurement, breaches and financial irregularities. Sharon Ajay reports.
The lawmakers cited allegations that the Nigerian Police Forces Procurement Department awarded a 6 billion naira contract for police uniforms to Crown Nature Nigerian Limited by splitting it into 66 contracts to bypass the Public Procurement Act. Describing these issues as a systematic abuse of office and disregard for regulations, the House mandated its committees on public accounts and public procurement to investigate and report back within 6 weeks.
The House is disturbed by the reported sale of critical national security assets, including Garki Police Barracks in Abuja, the Falomo Police Barracks in Lagos, and Bompai Barracks in Kano, to private individuals closely linked with Exim Realty Company Limited, without due process or required approvals from the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, Ministry of Police Affairs, or the Federal Executive Council, and in total disregard of the PPP regulation guide.
The House of Representatives also passed for second reading a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal Capital Territory Area Council Service Commission, sponsored by Honorable Moshood Olarewaju Oshun. Similarly, the House passed for second reading a bill for an act to establish the Federal Institute for Driving Technology, Ibeju-Lekki, Lagos State, charged with the responsibility of providing full-time courses in deep-sea ocean diving studies, sponsored by Honorable Adebayo Balogun.
This afternoon, to move that a bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal Capital Territories, Area Councils, Service Commission, and for related matters, HB 1838, be read the second time. I so move.
To move that the bill for the establishment of the Federal Institute of Diving Technology, Ibeju-Lekki, charged with the responsibility to provide full-time courses in deep-sea ocean diving study, be read the second time. I so move.
Sharon Ajay reporting for Global TV News.
The senator representing Edo South, Neda Imasuen, has decamped from the Labour Party to the All Progressive Congress. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, announced Imasuen's defection during plenary through an official letter. Kike Lomo Okere reports.
The senator representing Edo South, Neda Imasuen, explained that his decision was after extensive consultation with his constituency and political leaders throughout the Edo South Senatorial District. He expressed his desire to align the district with the current administration's focus on development and renewable energy initiative.
This decision follows extensive consultations with my constituents, my political stakeholders, my supporters across Edo South Senatorial District, who have expressed their desire to have me enter a party that will give our people national prominence and political relevance. I want to align my senatorial district with the development and the renewed hope agenda of the current administration. My defection is necessitated by irreconcilable internal crisis and leadership challenges within the Labour Party.
The senator requested that his letter be read aloud in the Senate and recorded in the official proceedings. Kike Lomo Okere, Global Television News.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has met with leaders of registered political parties in Abuja ahead of major elections across the country. Top of the agenda were preparations for the Federal Capital Territory Area Council election and the Anambra governorship poll. Our correspondent Kabir Hassan was there for Global TV.
It was full house at the INEC conference hall in Abuja as representatives from various political parties gathered to receive key updates from the commission. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, during the meeting emphasizes that campaign activities must end 22 hours before election day in strict compliance with the electoral guidelines. The INEC chairman revealed that 3.5 million voters have registered ahead of the election, and a final list of the 16 candidates have been released for the forthcoming Anambra election.
Going by the timetable and schedule of activities for the FCT Area Council elections, party primaries end on Monday, 30th June 2025. You have the next 3 weeks after that date to tidy up your documentation and upload the list of your candidates to the dedicated portal from the 21st of July to 11th August 2025.
The commissioner scheduled a series of by-election for Saturday, August 18, 2025, to fill vacant seats of the National and State Assembly across 12 states. INEC chairman explained that the vacancies arose from resignation, death, and court order annulments. However, he confirmed that the by-election will not be conducted in 2 state constituencies, Kana 2 in Rivers State due to a state of emergency, and Talata Marafa South in Zamfara State, which is subjected to the ongoing legal procedures.
Campaign in public by political parties commenced 2 weeks ago on 11th June 2025 and will continue until midnight of Thursday, 6th November 2025, that is 24 hours prior to election day. During that period, we expect political parties to adhere to our regulations and guidelines for meetings, rallies, processions, and campaigns already available again from our website.
As the countdown of the election continues, INEC says it remains committed to transparency, inclusiveness, and credible electoral process nationwide. Hassan Kabir, reporting for Global TV.
Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa has reaffirmed the commitment of the Nigerian Armed Forces to work closely with traditional rulers to restore lasting peace in Benue State and surrounding regions. Correspondent Felicity Ndere reports that General Musa emphasized that the military cannot achieve sustainable peace alone without the cooperation and support of local leaders and the communities. Her report. We'll bring back that report in our subsequent bulletin. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has deferred hearing on a suit seeking to validate Senator Samuel Anyanwu's position as the National Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, till September 22nd. Justice Umar approved the adjournment of a day. All the defendants, including the PDP, challenged the competence of the suit and jurisdiction of the court to entertain it. You're watching the live broadcast of AM News. When AM News returns, African fencing champions begin in Lagos. Details coming shortly, plus business and foreign stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is AM News on Global Television. Thank you for staying with us. In business now, the federal government says it is putting up projects with the goal to equip 3 million Nigerians with technical skills, create 1.5 million jobs. The Minister of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, who was represented by Francis Sani, made this known at the Science Granting Council Initiative Demo Day and closing ceremony at Innovate Hub Abuja. And on the foreign scene, as parties pursue implementation of the ceasefire between Israel and Iran, Iran says its right to peaceful nuclear energy remains intact. A student has been arrested in Israel over suspicious of spying for Iran. 22-year-old is alleged to have committed security offenses and carried out attacks on behalf of Iranian agents. According to a joint statement by the Shein Beat Domestic Security Service and the police, the young man, who studies information systems at Ben Gurion University in Beersheba, is from the Arab village of Deir al-Sabab, northern Israel. And in sports stories now, the jostle for medals has begun at the 2025 African Fencing Championships in Lagos, with continental powerhouse Egypt showing their dominance by winning the tournament's first gold medal. 150 fencers from 18 countries across the continent are competing at Charterhouse, Lagos in the 23rd edition of the tournament. The 5-day tournament was opened with the men's epi and women's full individual events, with the contents decided by first to 5 hits in 3 minutes. Former two-time UFC middleweight champion Israel Adesanya will be inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame on Thursday. Yesterday, at his epic 2019 clash with Kelvin Gastelum, joins the promotion's prestigious fight wing at a ceremony at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, USA. The Nigerian-born New Zealander's 5-round interim middleweight title battle at UFC's 236, which has won via unanimous decisions, will be enshrined alongside other legendary contents like Forrest Griffin versus Stephen Burner, Matt Hughes versus Frank Tugg II, and Anderson Silva versus Sean Suman as part of 2005 class. Here, as we end the AM News, but before we go, here's a recap of some of our top stories again. Brought to you that President Bola Tinubu has signed into law 4 tax reform bills on key areas of Nigerian fiscal and revenue framework. And in business, the federal government says it is putting up projects with a goal to equip 3 million Nigerians with technical skills to create 1.5 million jobs. And on the foreign scene, as parties pursue implementation of the ceasefire between Israel and Iran, Iran says its right to peaceful nuclear energy remains intact. And finally, in sports, the jostle for medals has begun at the 2025 African Fencing Championship in Lagos, with continental powerhouse Egypt showcasing their dominance by winning the tournament's first gold medal. Now that's it on Global TV AM News. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using @Global TV NG. You know, you can download the Global TV Nigeria mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. I am June Mai Manson. Thank you for watching. Good morning. Global Morning continues shortly. Stay tuned.
Do you know that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Well, it's a great Friday morning, no doubt about it. You know what they say about Fridays? They say a great weekend begins on a Friday. So we are off to a great start weekend-wise. Now, I'm Uyi Agbo Fuegbe. It's a delight to welcome you to Global Morning today. My very amazing and delectable colleague is also on the program.
All these accolades for me. Morning,
You have to come with a bag.
And it's great to be here. I am Jumai Manson, and thank you all so much for being a part of Global Morning this beautiful Friday morning. And it's an amazing time. It's great to be here, basically.
Well, what more can we say? We're beginning to wind down. It's been an amazing week.
Yes, it has.
Interesting and
yes, it has. Yes, it has.
Whether it's in politics or the economy, business, and whatever it is, I mean, we've seen big stories this whole weekend. Part of it we'll be sharing with you in the course of the program today. It turns out to be, well, the last working day of the week, and things are beginning to jump off for some people because they have plans to go unwind a little tonight, all the way into the weekend proper.
Very true.
While we're here doing our beat as well for you.
Yes, we are, and of course it's a time for people to, there's, the song that came to my head when you said it's Friday was that, thank God it's Friday. Okay, yeah, because for some it's a time to just go relax and chill, and of course wedding preparations, a lot of people are getting married tomorrow, some today. No one looks at the weekend anymore. Some actually do their ceremony during the week.
Right.
Like I know a friend that got married during the week. Congratulations, by the way, NK. And then the thing is, it's just a time for you to just prepare yourself for the next week that is upcoming. Just that preference you need to give for Monday, Tuesday, and the rest, just to prepare and be sure. Very important.
It's also a time to take stock of how your week has been. Right? No pressure, quite frankly, but of course you want to look over your shoulder and ask yourself, what have I done with this working week or this business week? That will give you an idea of what the next week should be, but very importantly too, in the middle of it, you want to step on your brakes for a second, and as Americans will say, stop pumping gas, so that way you can revitalize, refresh, and you come back to work on Monday better prepared, all right, for the task ahead of you. Again, we're grateful to have you join us on the program today. We have quite a number of discussions lined up in front of us, both domestic and beyond the shores of Nigeria, and in the middle of the program we'll also look at big headlines from across our national dailies for you to guide you through the news, give you an idea where the news is heading today and into the weekend.
Of course, well said, Uyi. And with this point, we'll quickly delve into the newspaper review segment.
That's right?
All right, let's quickly go on a very quick break. The newspaper review segment is next. Stay tuned.
All right, we'll begin the newspaper review this morning, everyone, with the Guardian newspaper. Well, let's start with the headline, top left corner, with a picture of the President, Bola Tinubu. And it reads, use presidential power to restructure Nigeria, create state police. Afenifere tells Tinubu. Well, the state police conversation has been here for a while. We hope we'll find closure real soon in a way that is, well, appreciably practical. We have strengthened ICRC as engine room for infrastructure revolution, says Tinubu. SAN slams FG, alleges bids to divert Osun LG allocation. And that leads us to the star story here with the rider, I should say the kicker that says, less for more, how erratic supply short changes, band A households industries. You know, this is quite interesting. Of course, as always, trust the Guardian newspaper to have the infographics for you there to help establish the message. You know, this issue of band A, band B, and all of that. Some persons are not so sure what band they are on. But we know in a place like Abuja, for example, quite a number of people are on band A. And the challenge for many energy consumers is, well, can't we have the prerogative to determine which of the bands we want to be on, because this has to do with budget, has to do with finances.
Very
That's
true.
number one. Number two is, how are we billed, by the way? I mean, per kilowatts, per whatever it is.
Exactly.
You know, how are we billed? Let's understand those details and things like that. So it creates a bit of obscurity in the billing as far as energy consumption is concerned. And we hope those also will be addressed by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. That's the NERC that regulates the power sector in this country. All right, one more we have from the Guardian this morning. Let's walk you through a couple of headlines real quick. It says, Senate turns heat on NNPCL over 20. I mean, this says 210 trillion audit mess. That's a whole lot of money. I mean, you're looking at something around 4 or 5 times the 2025 budgets put together. Senate turns heat on NNPCL over 210 trillion naira audit mess. Cautious optimism as Nigeria treads a new tax terrain from January 2026. For the records, again, for the benefit of our viewers, President Bola Tinubu signed into law those bunch of laws yesterday, about 4 of them. All right, so they've become law and will practically kick in come January 2026. It's a learning curve, so to speak, for the tax authorities and, of course, for the Nigerian economy. All right, let's make some progress. Falana asks AGF to drop criminal cases against free speech. INEC to conduct by-elections, resume voter registration in August. That's quite a reminder that the 2027 general election cycle is not as far away from here as some people may think. PDP BOT opposes Ayahu's reinstatement as court set September 22 for National Secretary dispute. And then lastly, on the foot of the front page of the Guardian newspaper today, Marwa links 90% of terrorism, violent crimes to drug use. That was part of the conversation yesterday as part of events to commemorate the 2025 Day Against Drug. That's an international day set aside by the United Nations. Well, that's what we'll leave it for you this morning. We're moving to the next paper now, and Juma has all of those details from the Daily Trust newspaper.
All right, now, the Daily Trust newspaper now, below the nameplate, it says VAT remains 7.5%, CIT 30%, as Tinubu signs tax reform bill. And here it says reps probe police over weapons supply, contract, assets, sales. And besides that, it says rainstorm, flooding killed 220 persons in 3 months. And you can find that read on page 6. Now the Star story reads, PDP BOT backs MWC members insist on June 30th NEC meeting. And you can quickly find that read on page 3 and 4. And below all of that, it says government shortfalls impending Nigeria's economy, AFDB. And it says government killed 8 in Sokoto community. NJC sends 9 Imo judges on compulsory retirement. And that read is on page 33 of the Daily Trust. And lastly, it says Dangote to list fertilizer subsidiary targets over $3 billion dividend. And you can find that read on page 28 of the Daily Trust. Please go out and get your copy and be well abreast with issues making round. Next paper, the Daily Independent.
Right, thank you so very much, Juma. So let's turn to the Daily Independent real quick now. Again, we'll begin with stories above the nameplate, but this time top right corner of the Daily Independent newspaper. A fight against illicit drugs, a national movement. That's what President Tinubu told the country and indeed the world yesterday. He says it's got to be a collective effort by not just the NDLEA as a standalone agency, but by citizens and other critical stakeholders, including those who have had first-hand experience with illicit drugs, right? Nigeria's budgets overlap sign of effective fiscal transition. That's credited to Tamino. And then the Star headline tells us new tax laws necessary for Nigeria's prosperity, says Tinubu, with a rider that reads FG to roll out modalities soon. Implementation kicks off January. That's in about 6 months. And then we'll take it down a little for you. Well, this time, let's end of the front page of the Daily Independent. INEC schedules by-elections in 12 states for August 16. Senate plans zonal meetings with stakeholders to tackle insecurity. Again, that's headline is accompanied by one rider. Confirms chairman, MD, 15 others for South Development Commission. We understand there were 3 of them yesterday: the South, the Southeast, and the North Central, both the chairman and their respective boards. Under government replies Catholic Church on Owo Memorial Park demolition. Look for all of those details on page 29 of today's issue of the Daily Independent newspaper. NDIC gets new MD as Senate confirms Thompson. That news came through yesterday. PDP BOT counters Damagun, says Ayahu can't resume NEC holds. All right, well, that NEC meeting had been scheduled for 30th of this month, but as it stands right now, there's a faction of the PDP that says, look, we have to move it. I mean, let's move it. Another faction, which, well, de facto is led by the governor of Oyo State, Shey Makinde, says no way. June 30 will stand. We'll have an so it's more like, as some analysts will say, a fight between the Wike faction and the Shea Makinde group. But let's see how it pans out, because Juma, this is becoming more interesting.
Yes, it is.
I mean, going into the 2023 general election, we had the G5 governors.
Yes, we did.
All right, which some people say was by default led by, well, yes, Wike. And you had other former governors and one serving governor as members of that group. You had Dungu Ayi from Enugu, you had Otom from Benue, then you had, of course, Shea Makinde, and himself, Yeson Wike, was also there in that group. Today we're beginning to see that all is not well between the relationship, of course, between Wike and Shea Makinde. You know, they say in politics, no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, no permanent interests and things like that. And a man like former Abia State Governor too, Zeke Bazu, who was also a member of that G5 governor group, we hope that they find a way to reconcile these two gentlemen, because the PDP that many persons had come to see as the lead opposition party appears to be losing grips.
Very true.
And if that's the case, it will be fair for other parties, including, of course, the leading APC, to take advantage of that.
Very true.
And cruise to victory in 2027. But that's not the focus this morning. We're looking at the paper headlines for you. And lastly, from the Daily Independent this morning, it says Dangote is pride of Nigeria's financial market. That's according to NGX Group chairman. All right. So pick up a copy of the Daily Independent, read up those interesting details for yourselves, while Jumai moves us now to the next paper, First News.
And the next paper, thank you, Uyi, and beside the nameplate of First News, it says reps pro police over 50 billion naira fraud, Ascent sales corruption claims. And below all of that now, it says Senate threatens NNPCL over 210 trillion naira audit scandal. Tinubu signs 4 tax reform bills into law. Peter Obi's brother sues over Lagos property demolition. And here it says police inspector shot dead at stop and search in Anambra. And the star story of the First News says 86.8 million Nigerians lack power. And the writer reads, worst globally, says World Bank. And below the First newspaper says Tinubu rejects NDLEA bill over proceeds of crime clause. And next it says INEC begins voters registration August 25th for 2027 polls. And Favor Ofili still represented Nigeria, NSC. So go ahead and get yourself a copy and be well abreast with most of these interesting political issues making round on the First News. Next we have the Daily Times. Over to you.
Let's take a quick look at what we have in the Daily Times this morning, everyone. The star story here. It reads FIRS transmutes to NRS as Tinubu assigns 4 tax reform bills. Well, that's one of the fallouts of these bills that have now been signed into law by the president about 24 hours ago. Then let's take it a notch higher now to look at one headline above the nameplate. Lawmakers urge federal government to declare Islamic New Year public holiday. All right, well, let's take it down further. And the NDLEA makes 66,000 arrests as Tinubu declares drug war. Those details are with you on page 5 of the Daily Times today. And then one here also says, Insecurity Senate plans regional meetings with stakeholders. I mean, whatever it will take for us to stem the tide of insecurity, obviously, is welcomed. VP Shetima in Ethiopia for Green Legacy launch economic tours. Senate threatens NNPCL boss Ojulari with warrants of arrest. Well, we understand there's a series of probe going on within the NNPC and by extension the oil and gas sector. Well, it's long overdue, isn't it? Those are the headlines we have for you this morning from the Daily Times newspaper. Well, it's time to turn to the New Telegraph for you. Juma has those headlines as well.
All right, now the New Telegraph, and it reads here on page 8, it says Obasanjo resilience on foreign aid Corruption Stiff Africa's Progress. And above the nameplate, it says AFDB pegs Nigeria's 2025 GDP growth at 3.2%. And below all of that, it reads here, it says Rep Pro Police over barrack sale, 6 billion naira contract racketeering. Urges federal government to make Islamic New Year public holiday. And you can find that read on page 4 and 25 of the New Telegraph. And here's a picture of Mr. Project. Another person that the FCT minister used to weekend. It says Tinubu's support created more enemies for me. And that's Wiki on page 7. It says, as president inaugurates Abuja's second and 24 hours bus terminal. And it says here on the foreign news here, Israel-Iran ceasefire, fuel prices won't fall immediately, Ipman. And that you can find on page 2. And of course, still on the New Telegraph, it says here, Dewey to FG allows states to create local governments. And it says, Yenengwa deserves 5 local government areas. And that's on page 4. So you have to flip over to page 4 of the New Telegraph to find out what that is all about so talking about the local government. And the Star story reads, Tinubu signs 4 tax bills into law. A new regime begins January 1st, 2026. And you can get that on page 3, 8, and 27. And the rider says it's framework of Nigeria for tomorrow. We have 6 months for sensitization planning Adedeji as man hails Tinubu. And below the foot of the New Telegraph, it says INEC delays by-elections in Rivers, Zamfara over emergency rule litigation. And you can go out and get yourself a copy to be well abreast with these very interesting issues making round on the New Telegraph. Next, we will be running us through the next paper.
All right, and turns out that is the Daily Monitor newspaper.
Yes, it is.
Well, let's begin with the ones above the nameplate. All right, here it says Africa loses $7 billion annually on medical tourism. That's according to Afrexim Bank. That's a whole lot of money to lose to.
A whole lot.
Tourism. Yes, and this is the question of was Africa as a continent? I mean, a continent of 54 countries.
Really?
Doing with their healthcare systems.
Sure.
Yes, I mean, if somebody were living in Nigeria, for example, to say they want to seek Medicare help elsewhere beyond Nigeria, one would think, okay, maybe somewhere within Africa, maybe East Africa.
Exactly.
But what we find on the contrary is that we always move beyond this continent. We go to Europe, we go to the US, of course we go to UK as well, and things like that. So it's a reminder that it's high time we started working on our health infrastructure.
Very important.
Back at home. We had seen in this country where the wife of a former president has said that even the Villa Clinic didn't have some basic essentials. I mean, that was at that level of the First Lady. So it means we have to find some humility, tell ourselves some hard truths, and move things forward, right?
And then just to add a bit to what you just said, I think COVID, during the time of COVID, COVID-19, would have been an eye-opener for us, where you couldn't even travel if you had deteriorating health issues.
No matter how highly placed.
There was no way you could leave this country. That would have been like a refocus, or will I say, coming back into what we have.
To realign.
To realign our healthcare center and make the best of it, because we have amazing hands. We have amazing doctors who are very intelligent. Most of the doctors abroad were trending. They are mostly Nigerians, and Africans are very industrious when you come to whatever craft, professionalism or skill in which they find themselves. So that would have been like an eye-opener. 2019 till now, that's a really low, and we still have these lapses, this mole in this particular sector. Then it's something that is a very major issue. It's a very major issue.
And Joe, like you brilliantly put it, I mean, when you look at the HDI, that is the Human Development Index, the health care system of a country is one of the primary, if you like, benchmarks, all right, or yardsticks that is used to determine how well a country is developing. It's not necessarily how much it makes from the sale of natural resources,
Very
like
true.
crude oil, for example.
No, it's not.
It is how healthy your people are, right? How much of access do they have to
Healthcare.
and what's the quality of that healthcare?
In which you give back.
Right, and then we'll now look at mortality rates. We'll now look at, other things like life expectancy, for example. Look at life expectancy in Nigeria today, for instance. Compare that with what you have in Australia or Sweden.
Or China.
Denmark, or China. I mean, the disparity is like
It's
the
wide.
difference between day and night, right? So we need to be bothered about these things. Quite
Really,
genuinely,
we
right?
really need to.
We've got to make progress. Okay. Here it says, Senate plans regional meetings with stakeholders to tackle insecurity. That story is a bit replicated across dailies this morning.
Yes, it is.
We have one here with a picture of the controversial former governor of, that's Kogi State, talking about Yahaya Bello. It says, drama as prosecution tags EFCC's case against Yahaya Bello as political case. What does that even mean? Well, details are waiting on page 4 of the Daily Monitor today. INEC fixes August 16 for by-elections in 12 states. Some of those elections are long overdue, but now we understand that a date has specifically been scheduled for them. CDS orders arrests of possessors of illegal arms in Benue. The writer here says military committed to replicating peace-building successes recorded in other troubled regions. The part we often find a way to wrap our heads around is when you say CDS orders arrest of possessors of illegal arms in Benue. Do we have to come to that point where it is the CDS that is ordering? When people are in illegal possession of firearms anywhere in the world, they are arrested. You don't have to give a special order from the president, from the CDS, from the chief of army staff, from the national security advisor. But these are some peculiarities probably that come with how we run this country, which has to change by all means, right? Tinubu signs 4 new tax bills into law, takes effect on January 2026. Fingers crossed to see how that implementation will be done. 2 riders, by the way, with that headline. Households earning 250,000 or less monthly won't pay tax. That's one of the clauses with this new tax direction. That's according to Oyedele, the chairman of the tax committee that has been set up by President Tinubu. The second says, NECA hails, says new tax law step in right direction. Well, those are the headlines from the Daily Monitor today. National Star is our next point of call.
All right, now the new National Star, and below the nameplate it says, NLC threatens to shut down Abuja over wage crisis. And that read you will find on page 2. PDP NWC deputies back Anyanwu as national secretary. And that read is on page 3. Nigerians get reprieve as Tinubu signs tax reform bill into law. And that's on page 17. And the Star story reads, Lagos Party's fortune dips, loses all Enugu reps seat. And the writer reads, defectors will make parties hall of shame, says LPNWC. And that read is on page 2. Now the special report on the new National Star reads, new president Faustin Argage is transforming Central Africa Republic. And you can find that read on page 23. Now, below all of that, we have here on the National Star, it says here, and that's a picture of the presidential candidate of the LP, and it says, Lagos denies involvement in Obi's brother's property demolition. Iran threatens more strikes against America, and that's on page 21. NPFL shortlists 10 referees for VAR training in Morocco, and that's on page 22. And there's a picture says, hi, dumped banking for music, okay? All right.
Rika Sani, right?
Yes, Rika Sani. And basically that's all on the new National Star. And go out and get yourself a copy and be well informed on the issues making around. A lot, very interesting issues that you should read and stay abreast with the news and latest current issues in Nigeria. And with that, we bring you to the end of the newspaper review segment. And just go out and get yourself a copy. It's Global Morning on Global Television. Do not go anywhere. The program continues shortly. Stay tuned.
The last, virtually 2 weeks now, was saying a day-to-day commissioning of projects across the FCT, courtesy of a man that is now popularly referred to as Mr. Project. Well, that name was what he brought with him, having served 8 years in Port Harcourt. And he did promise on the 21st of August 2023, the very day he, alongside several other ministers, were inaugurated by President Bola Tinubu to be part of his cabinet. One of the things he did say was whatever he had achieved as the chief executive of Rivers State for 8 years, especially as it has to do with infrastructure, was exactly the same thing he would replicate here in the nation's capital. And for those who have been watching dispassionately and been following very keenly, or as we say, bumper to bumper, you would realize that what he had said virtually 2 years ago aligns squarely with what he's doing today in Abuja. I mean, I'm sure Juba agrees.
Yes, of course. And then for everyone that knows that I am a very, for my own opinion, I'm someone that admires the FCT minister for his works. While you might not like him, you might not like what he brings to the table because of the ruckus that he has with other individuals in the political sector. Well, you should give it to him that he has fulfilled his mandate and his words when it comes to development. Development in Abuja here, the commissioning of roads has gone a long way to serve the masses. It's very impressive to see that, and to see someone making so much effort going out, doing this and that to make life easy for individuals. It might be hard, we might not buy to his demolishing here and there, but at the long run it boils down to serving you and I and making the best of it. For a man of his words, it's something for me. It's something that I admire a lot. Just keep to your words for the benefit of individuals. Fine, you do not know what goes underneath. Really, no one cares as long as you're putting in the works and you're doing so much for individuals in the FCT. That's the Federal Capital Territory. And then, I mentioned and I said, with all this commission, when it has to do with roads, how about other roads outside Abuja? The one that favors everyone combined, the roads that people commute to their various destinations, like
beyond the FCT.
Beyond the FCT. I know it's not his terrain, but others who are responsible for that particular terrain.
Ministry of Works, right?
Ministry of Works, of course, talking to Umahi, yes. And look at Lagos Ibadan Expressway for that, for an instance. That road is bad way. People die on a daily on that road, and I think that particular road should be put into consideration. I hope he should watch what his other individuals are doing when it comes to putting the works. It's not just the FCT minister, Abia State, for instance. A lot of governors are doing in their best. But let us look at the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. No one is even talking about it. I know the coastal highway is ongoing and all of that, but look at the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. That's the road that individuals far and wide commute that road to their various destinations. And if you look at the potholes on that road, accidents on a daily. Because of how bad the roads is, the rate of kidnapping on that road is high. It's just like we don't talk about these things. But it's very important that that particular road, Lagos-Ibadan Express Road, should be put into consideration. For me, that is my own personal opinion. But the truth is, it concerns you and I as individuals, and that road has not been spoken about since the inception of, if I'm not mistaken, Obasanjo, the regime. That road, we've been going off and on, awarding, and yet we've not seen any impact when it comes to that. It's a really big concern. Right. It's a really big concern.
It is. We need to realize that while FCT, like Jim and I have said, I mean, with emphasis, is making a lot of progress. I mean, strides that are very commendable with regards to infrastructure development. Nigeria is not just the FCT. Nigeria has 36 states plus the FCT. So question is, what are we doing end to end? Whether they are roads, they are bridges, they are flyovers, whatever it is that contributes to infrastructure development. Are we doing that already? Yes, we understand the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway has been a big project.
Yes, it has.
As a matter of fact, it is, well, factual to say that it has become number one priority for the federal government in terms of infrastructure.
True.
But the question is, what more are we supposed to be doing? Juma, for example, specified just a while ago the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, which has been awarded and re-awarded time and again.
Since the inception of
the pattern it's amazing in a way that is not very pleasant. Right from the days when former President Obasanjo was still doing his first term.
True.
We have seen how that contract became one of the most, if you like, controversial transactions that the federal government has ever been involved in, especially as it borders on infrastructure. So are we ready to resolve that issue, get that road fixed? And then you have other federal highways in the north and the southeast, for example.
Very true.
Southwest, I mean across the country. So how much of investment are we making in that direction? How much of leadership are we providing in that regard? Otherwise, it's going to be a continuous cycle of taxpayers' money, hard-earned money.
Very true.
I mean, going down the drain, or as they say on the streets, entering voicemail.
Entering voicemail, and that's true. And of course, there's nothing as value for money. I tell anyone who cares to listen, I say it doesn't matter how much you bill an individual. Once I get worth, value for money,
right,
I understand that, okay, fine, this is where it's going to, and it's going to generate something that is positive for you and I, and at the end at the long run, you'll be happy and I'll be happy. It doesn't matter how much you bill an individual. It doesn't matter how many tax reforms you bring. Is it beneficial? Is it going to change lives at the process? No matter how hard it is, hard-earned money going into such project, and you had nothing to offer, then that's where eyebrows will be raised, and that's where we have. That's why the youth now has a lot of voice. Now everyone now knows that, okay, I can actually put my voice and my energy in this, and there will be a change. But sometimes we get it wrong by doing it the wrong way. When it's not peaceful, when it's not exact. Like I said, you can only pass your message when there is peace, when you sit down and you talk about these things. But at the same time, with all of these reforms, that it involves you and I at the long run, and I am not seeing worth and I'm not seeing value, then that's a concern. But once I see worth and I see value, and it changes our lives, and it's for the betterment of we as individuals and Nigeria as a country, everyone is happy.
I'm sure everyone will be happy, but again, we will have to do more than lip service. We'll have to do more than camera, light, and action, as I call it, where it's more of a priority to put it on television than it is to put it on the ground for the people to see. But then, Nigeria is a country that's long overdue for infrastructure development, which means we have to have gone past where we are today.
Oh, yes.
All right, on that front. But as they say, better late than never. Well, we heard experts, including immediate past Minister of Works and Housing, Raji Babatunde Fashola, who also said that Nigeria will need several trillions over a 20-year period to be able to close the infrastructure gap in this country. But you see what they say, the journey of 1,000 kilometers begins with a step.
Yes, it does.
It is little drops of water that make an ocean. So let's start from somewhere. Continue to monitor our progress and continue to scale until we hit that crescendo where we ought to be in terms of how we drive infrastructure development in Africa. It's one of the biggest conversations we can be having at this point in time. Well, let's take a quick break now, everyone. A lot has happened across social media lately, including fake news and misinformation. But the good thing is here at Global Television, we have Ogochukwu Mobuno, who takes us through the big stories across social platforms, and she's here with Social Buzz.
Global Morning Crew, and of course, good morning, our esteemed viewers. I am Ogochukwu Mobuno. So today we're going to be checking what's buzzing on the internet today. Well, the High Court in Lafia, Nasarawa State has sentenced Oluwatimilowo Ajayi to death by hanging for the gruesome murder of a National Youth Service Corps member, Salome Adaidu. The living judgment on Thursday, Justice Simon Aboki found Ajayi guilty of culpable homicides, having killed and dismembered the victim. Justice Aboki said that the prosecuting counsel proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt that the convict killed the victim at his residence. The judgment positioned that the defendant claims that he became unconscious after having a good time with his girlfriend and was unconscious when he wrote his confessional statement does not hold water. He therefore found Ajayi guilty of the offense after several months of trial. Justice Aboki noted that Ajayi was convicted under Section 221 of the Penal Code of Northern Nigeria, which prescribes the death penalty for persons guilty of such an offense. The law is clear on this, and the punishment is death. Therefore, the accused is hereby sentenced to death by hanging, Justice Aboki ruled. For some who do not know the backstory to this sentence, well, I'm going to break it down now for you. The Nigerian police had arrested Ajayi after he was caught by church goers in Orozo, a border community between Abuja and Nasarawa, carrying a polybag containing the severed head of the victim. Further investigation reportedly led to the discovery of the remaining body parts inside his apartment in Nikarishik, a local government area of the state. Where the victim, who is named Salome, was said to have been killed during a visit to Ajayi's residence. In a viral post-arrest interview, Ajayi confessed to the crime, saying the act was not premeditated but carried out in a fit of jealousy. I killed her, according to him, he said, I killed her because we don't have each other all the time. It's not something I planned. It happened on the day, and it happened. Not that I had a plan in mind. She was cheating. She hides most of the things from me most times. I got to know from her phone. I saw her chat with other guys on the phone. That was why I decided, he said. This is really, really sad because his confession actually had different sides. If you had been following this story about Timile's murder, Salome's murder by Timile, you would have known that Timile had different confession. In one other interview, he said he said he was going to kill her, like he was conscious, he knew what he was doing at that time, and he killed her. And again, different confession came out to say that this person was not Salome's boyfriend as claimed by Timile. Timile never knew Salome, and people also, said this person who is Timile Ajayi actually kidnapped Salome, and they were never boyfriend and girlfriend like he is saying in the interviews. Well, different interviews were carried out even by the Berekete family. The family who actually interviewed the parents and also the siblings of the victim, and they all came out to say the same thing, that this person, we do not know him. And as a matter of fact, Salome was even engaged to someone who she was supposed to get married to before this incident, and it was really a bad one. But then justice, of course, have been served, and we just really need to thank the judiciary system once again for coming through and for making it swift. Well, before we go further, we'll be taking comments from social media as regards this situation. And the first comment is coming from Mishihi, and Mishihi says, very good and swift judgment if actually the sentence not going to be audio. It's not going to be audio, we promise. I know that the judicial system is not going to proclaim something and then go audio. It's not possible. But then very good. Okay, the next comment is coming from Monkoju. And Monkoju says, good one, he who takes another person's life has lost the right to live. That's it. It's just a quote. It's for tit for tat, and that's just it. If you take somebody's life, please do not even think of living. The third comment here, which is the last but not the least comment, is coming from Uduko Wanyima. Uduko says, fastest judgment ever. Kudos to the judges. Yes, kudos to the judges. These are things that we are happy for. If there is a crime, then please everyone should face the crime. Always be ready to dance to the drum whenever you are beating it. If you are the one beating the drum, don't say someone else to dance to it. Dance to that drum. So we need to say kudos to the Nigerian judicial system and also the police for all investigations being carried out. And we hope that this judgment is not audio, just like one of the commenters said, which I know is not definitely going to be audio. Well, I know you want to be part of this conversation. You might have been following this conversation. So if you want to be part of this conversation on this beautiful Friday morning, please drop your comments using the handles now showing on your screen, the social media handles showing on your screen at Global TV and YouTube. Comment and be part of this conversation and other conversation that will be coming up on Global Morning today. I'll be leaving you in the hands of the Global Morning crew as Global Morning continues.
know that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Our planet is changing and the clock is ticking. But amidst this crisis, there is hope, innovation, and resilience. Join me each week. The environment which you live is very much alive as I uncover the truths, the challenges, and the champions of our environment, because the future depends on what we do now.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
All right, thank you everyone for staying with us. Now we put our first conversation on the road for you this morning. For a while now, the issue of constitutional amendment has been one of the, well, frontline conversations in this country. A country like Nigeria is no stranger, apparently, to review of the constitution. We've seen that happen time and again. As a matter of fact, that's what led us to having what we today refer to as the Nigerian 1999 Constitution as amended. However, from the developments we're seeing very recently, there are pretty good chances that more amendments are going to be introduced to the Constitution. But wait a minute, what do we say to those who say that enough of amendments, let's have something fresh, let's have something new, let's build from scratch? All right, but the conversations are quite divergent. But this morning we're joined by someone via Zoom, live from Yola in Adamawa State, a lawyer and a public affairs commentator, Barrister Sunday Wugira. Well, I can't call you my learned friend because I'm not so learned now, but we'd like to say thank you for joining us on the program this morning.
Good morning, good morning, Nigerians.
All right. So my colleague, Jeremiah Manson, and I will take the next couple of minutes talking to you about these very important subjects, because we understand that until we are able to establish or entrench the rule of law, there is next to nothing we can accomplish with regards to national development. So talk to us about this. Well, it has become more like Hula Balu now, about the efforts to review the Constitution and make possible amendments. As it stands today, we understand that 6 public hearings across the 6 geopolitical zones of this country have been scheduled. From the standpoint of the lawyer that you are, one who is in practice, what are your thoughts?
Well, every law that you see that is man-made must always also grow as long as people also grow. So it is a welcome development. We will continue to see these amendments every now and then. My only problem with the way and manner the amendment is going now is the fact that at this time, I am afraid the amendments will only be a cosmetic show. Cosmetic show and a kind of a distraction for Nigerians from what actually is happening. These amendments may never see the light of the day at the end of the day, or it will be hurried in such a way that we may not get actually what we wanted, because it may be a selective one to suit the interests of the powers that be, and at the end of the day, Nigerians will still go back to the complaining zone. We need this, we need that, or there will be a majority dissatisfaction and a complete continuation of the cycles, as it were. That is my only fear. That is the area I am concerned about. If truly we desire to have a constitutional amendment, this is something that should have been the priority of the National Assembly from the first legislative year, so that by the second or third legislative year, we will be done with the amendment and everybody will know actually what are the issues, what are the new things that we have in our constitution, and where are the areas that it is going to affect or change the situation completely or mildly or however. So this is my concern.
I know we have concerns, but at the beginning you said it's a welcome development. But in your own words, what do you think are the different methods or approach that can be used for the constitutional review?
The methods that should be adopted are the measures that have been adopted by this National Assembly. However, it is coming late at this hour, very, very late. That is my concern. Looking at the timing, and by this is June already, and by December, I am sure this process will not be through, and once it is 2026, you know, constitutional amendments will take the back burner. No one will even be found in the chambers of the National Assembly to do the needful. And mind you, some of these things must also pass through the state legislative houses, you know, for their own affirmation also, or confirmation. And they must have to start. And you know what that means. It will be kept until perhaps 2027. And they will want to start it all over again.
Barrister Wugira, what are the factors that are, if you like, not limiting, but inhibiting us from being able to pursue constitutional amendments vigorously and with sincerity of purpose? Like you alluded to just a while ago at the top of this conversation, you just hope it doesn't become a circus of some kind, as we have always seen. It doesn't become some kind of political and congressional jamboree of some sort. What exactly are the factors we're dealing with here? What is prohibiting us, or if you like, preventing us from being committed wholeheartedly to the process of reviewing and amending our constitution?
Self-interest, that is the only factor. Self-interest. We don't look at the need to amend the constitution from the perspective of this is a nationalistic or patriotic thing. This is the right thing to do because genuinely we need these changes. But we look at it from the perspective of cashing in politically. When we take up the matter that we want to amend the constitution, we go to our constituents and we use it as a bait that we need to be given another chance to conclude this job that we have started. If you are to bring in somebody different, they may jettison it, and that is the issue. But you can see that this thing is something that if the National Assembly will take it as a project, and the Nigerian government will also put it as a priority that yes, we need to amend our constitution, it will take the center stage during the first legislative year. It will be set as an agenda. As soon as we are inaugurated in June or July, as the case may be, whichever one comes earlier, the first priority within the first legislative year, our duty or our agenda will be to make sure that we set in motion the amendment of the constitution. We are going to make sure that before our second legislative year, all the requirements or areas where amendments are needed are taken care of. We push to the state legislature to get their affirmation, ensure that we get a two-thirds majority, and then put pressure on the president to assent to these amendments. And we face other things during the second year, perhaps an amendment of the Electoral Act if the two cannot be taken together.
Let me take us back. For someone who is watching right now, talking about the Constitution and of course the constitutional review, now who wants to understand all of this, what is the primary purpose or the benefit of a constitutional review in Nigeria?
Well, the primary purpose is some laws as the society grows needs to be set aside or needs to be updated. Be in consonance with the realities of the time. And to also take care of certain anomalies that is noticed and apparent to everyone. So it makes our constitution to be a modern one that is providing for the realities of our time. The purpose of the amendment. That
a bit of loss of
yes,
stream,
we are
with audio and video, right? But the point he was making a while ago was very clear.
Very clear.
About the ideal process for reviewing our constitution and helping our viewers understand some of these dynamics as we know them, even though we know politics appears to have dampened the whole process.
Yes, it has. And yeah, our guest is back on now. So go ahead, Barrister Sunday, we're with you.
Yes, sorry, I think it's the network. Our laws, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, if you take a rundown, you get to realize that one of the best constitutions that we have anywhere in the world.
Okay, he's back on now. Please go ahead, sir.
Yes. Yes. So basically, that is what is intended. However, we have to accept the fact that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as it is today, 1999, as amended, is one of the best constitutions you could lay hands on anywhere in the world for a country. However, that does not mean that it is not ripe for amendment or whatever, because the society grows. And I think there are certain things that needed to be added or some things that needed to be removed, chiefly.
This morning, but this conversation is getting more interesting. And,
yes, it is.
Quite revealing as to how the constitution amendment should work. And it's interesting how that he mentions that even as it stands today, the Nigerian laws or Nigerian constitution is one of the finest in the world.
Yes, it is.
So what are we missing? Is it a will to drive the implementation of these laws, or is it a matter of us not just being committed or being lackadaisical about the whole thing?
It shows a lot when it comes to the drive, like you mentioned. Like him mentioning that the Constitution is one of the best in the world. But at the same time, I feel, in my own opinion, that we're not taking it top a notch when it comes to driving these particular rules into place. I think it has a lot to do, or I think it's beyond that, because he mentioned anomalies, a lot that needs to be followed through. I think they intertwine and they work hand in hand. So I think the constitutional review, like he mentioned, is a step in the right direction, but at the same time, there are lots of challenges surrounding it.
Sure. Well, we need to take a quick break at this point in time. When we return, we'll continue the conversation with you. Do stay with us.
know that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world.
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Our planet is changing and the clock is ticking. But amidst this crisis, there is hope, innovation, and resilience. Join me each week. The environment which you live is very much alive as I uncover the truths, the challenges, and the champions of our environment, because the future depends on what we do now.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world.
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay.
That was Barrister Ugera there a while ago, discussing issues around constitution review, constitutional amendments, and what makes Nigeria a very, very unique case. And it's our hope that we continue to push the narrative around how to better improve our laws in this country, but far more importantly, the courage and the, well, sincerity of purpose to be able to drive the rule of law, because until we get to that point where the rule of law is supreme, it doesn't matter whether we are, as they say, patching our constitution or coming up with something fresh and new. The important thing is that we'll still have to come back to that same point where we left off, because whether you like it or not, the rule of law is what guides all of us, so that some persons don't find a reason, whatever it is, to feel they are above the law. And we also hope that politicians do not continue to only mouth rule of law without actually giving it the bite that it requires.
Yes, of course. Very importantly then, all that it requires. It's all a process. I always tell people it's for us to follow and understand that some of these reforms are here to stay. In their mind, it's for the beneficial, for the benefit of each and every one of us. But sometimes the way it's placed, sometimes it doesn't come as at when due. There's sometimes where you need it, sometimes where you will not need it, but in all, let it just be for the benefit of you and I, and let it just manifest that particular action in which it takes. That's just the most important thing in all of this, basically.
Well, let's move away from the issue of constitutional review for a second. Insecurity is also a challenge now.
Oh, yes.
We heard that up north just 2 days ago, it was a fierce battle between the military and bandits. But the good news is that, of course, as is always the case, Nigeria's Ghana soldiers and other wings of the military had a field day running circles around these criminal elements. The fact of the matter is there has never been a doubt as to the capacity and competence of the Nigerian armed forces to deal with any form of crime, regardless of the color or shade. However, because on some level it will appear that politics had infiltrated the whole conversation, it became controversial. But today we understand that war is being won in favor of Nigeria, and of course kudos to our gallant men and women in uniform. However, we need to continue to have conversations around the challenges, all right, of not being able to have that continuity in terms of the success. So we don't continue to have a culture of where 1 minute we are winning the war, the next is as if there's a decline in that victory that we're recording, and things like that, because these are issues that have to do with life, and there are no two ways to it. We have to face the challenges squarely.
Yes, we really do. And it's very important that it takes you and I to curb the insecurity in various places. It's not just the military. The information in which you give, when you see something, say something, goes a long way in helping to curb this menace in the society. You might not have weaponry as a civilian, yes. And our security agents, they're doing amazingly well. Of course, you've seen the reports from the CDS, that's the Chief of Defense Staff, and of course the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Air Staff, the Chief of Naval Staff. They're all going all out to try as much as possible to curb this menace wherever they are. But at the same time, it takes you and I also. That's why I mentioned at the beginning, when you see something, say something. When you see someone acting very suspicious, you should report it. Let them investigate and figure it out. And you as an individual, you have a role to play when it comes to securing your own environment the way possible possible means in which you can. It starts from you and I. It doesn't have to. I know for individuals who are up north who are going through a lot when it comes to this particular menace, but you still need to do a lot in your own terrain. You shouldn't do things out of proportion. You shouldn't. There's some places you shouldn't be. They say be at the right place at the right time. Do not be at the right place at the wrong time. So it's very important that we understand that. For as much as our security agencies are doing so much, you as an individual should try your best to actually secure your own environment the best way that you can. And at the beginning we all said, or when we heard of insurgents, we were all thinking, oh my goodness, Boko Haram is just in the northern part of Nigeria, it's Borno. Now we hear of so many herders, we hear of kidnappings, we hear of ritualists, we hear of one chance, and guess what? So these individuals are right here with us. They are here in the FCT, not just FCT, other states of Nigeria. So it takes you and I. So particularly security is all about our business. It's not just for one particular agency or the military. It's our business, because we need to, as much as possible, keep our environment secure. Very, very important. And I think some of us, we leave it in the hands of security agents that, like the police, they should know better and all of that. And I'm not in support of the police. I have uncles who are policemen, yes, but at the same time, we shouldn't leave everything in the hands of all of these security agents. I'm not saying take laws into your own hands, but try as much as possible to secure where you are and give the right needful information. Do not compromise. A lot of individuals compromise. That is why there is high case of insecurity around. People compromise because poverty is at stake, because they cannot eat well. I know, but please do not compromise at the detriment of someone's life. So it's very important we understand that, and I hope this particular menace is nipped in the bud as soon as possible. It is a monster in our society, and I pray it is curbed as soon as possible, really.
Well, I think that's a very brilliant way to put it. Insecurity is a matter of life and death. So it's not a question of gamble or politics, even though we know those elements are always going to be there now and always. Incidentally, the National Assembly is also probing the Nigeria police now over some allegations, some of them very heavy allegations around corruption, lack of due process, and several other concerns that have now been raised. It is a step in the right direction. We have a police system that the people not only can trust, but can also relate with, can support.
Very true.
There's no police in the world that can do it all alone. You've got to have the people behind you. You've got to have the people supporting you. You've got to have the people giving you vital information. Nigerians are tired of a situation where, it's been a culture, like a pattern.
It is.
Where people are afraid to share information with the police for fear of being compromised. And then those about whom this information has been shared will come back and attack, some sort of, revenge, if you like, that sort of thing. So people want to have the kind of police they can trust. Because let's face it, the people in police, whether they are men or women, are people's parents, they are people's children,
they are
people's relatives, they are people's breadwinners. So the police people were not imported from another planet to come work in Nigeria. There are people who speak our language,
they are.
Faith,
our
culture, and our tradition. So let's understand that and get to rethink policing as a system. It's a good thing now that we're talking about state policing. And we hope that we don't also find a way to, if you like, derail the whole process by introducing too much of politicking, all right? Because at the level of the National Economic Council, we're seeing the Vice President, who, by the way, is the chairman of the council, and all the 36 state governors come to talk about how they can better police their own states, and that has brought about the issue of the state policing. There are those who have expressed concerns around whether or not the governors in these respective states will not abuse the state police. And somebody says, well, are the governors not already even abusing, as it were, the federal police, the Nigeria police?
Very true.
So let's do what we have to do to better protect our people, especially at the grassroots. Because most of the crimes you hear about these days, it's been like that for a few years now, happen on the fringes, all right? The hinterlands, the rural areas, deep down into the rural areas. Not many of them happen in the city. So how do we ensure that policing, surveillance, intel gathering happen on those levels. One way we can answer such questions is to ensure that we rethink how we police our country.
Yeah, very important. And at the same time, the police has a long way in trying to prove itself. I saw a video of individuals, of policemen on the road, and they were stopping vehicles and saying that, "We're your friend. Is everything okay? How are you doing?" I think it takes more than that. We've already had bad records of how some policemen act on the streets. And how do you, and that's one. I'm getting somewhere. Now, we know that the policemen, some of them, not all, will actually, back in the day, is a 20 naira, or else they're going to, will I say, manhandle the individual for the sum of,
as I say in change them for you.
Okay. When it comes to that 20 naira, and we've seen how some policemen put aside their morals and their values and commit atrocities on the road and to some individuals in the society, and that is why most people are afraid to go to the police, because the police will actually turn whatever you bring against you. That was back in the day. I do not know now. I do not know today, because the Inspector General of Police, the person that Kaide basically is doing a lot when it comes to reforming the police system, the system of the police. He's trying as much to reform, because from the inside out. But it will take a lot, because a lot of people have actually given hope on the police. An individual you ask, I would rather tell a soldier who is not inclined with the civilian rule when it comes to civil society, when it comes to the issues that it has nothing to do with him. I'd rather run to a soldier and tell him this and that, or go to the military police in the barracks, than to go to the police station. Why? Because the police will tell me, before I will talk about your issue, that's behind closed door, you have to pay. There is an individual that came into Nigeria who was scammed. This person I know, he was scammed. And when the police told him and said, if you want us to get these individuals who scammed you, who you worked for you and did all that, you have to pay us some percentage of that money. Now that's the kind of system that we have in Nigeria, and most individuals that can relate to this will tell you, Juma, you are absolutely right, because this is not the first, second, or third, or fourth time it is happening. So it will take a lot of reorientation. You have to, like, we citizens, you have to tell us, okay, fine, really, is it true? When I saw the police earlier, I laughed and I said, okay, well, hopefully this is a step in the right direction. I'm a very positive individual. I am happy when there are changes that will benefit you and I as a citizen and as individuals in Nigeria. But the thing is this sustainable? Because most of these policemen will tell you they are not well paid. I have uncles in the police. Really, I do. And I asked a question when I was in secondary school, I will never forget. And I said, why do people hate you? Why do they hate the police? He said, it's not our fault. The truth is we are not well paid. And that's why we do the things we do. He told me bluntly. So the thing is, that reorientation that we want to bring now, it should start from the base upward.
Bottom to top.
I think bottom to top. That is the only way that individuals can actually trust the police. I am telling you, like I just gave a scenario. I would prefer to go to the MP, military police in the barracks, to tell them, come, there's a civilian that has bashed my car or something, and they would definitely refer, it's a police case, go to the police. But you know how it is. You know how it will turn. If you don't have enough money, and we know the corruption involved in all of that, but I pray this new orientation around the police now has come to stay, because really, the police should be our friend. The first call when there is a problem. There are some policemen who have integrity right from the onset, but there are some who have thrown it to the point because they will tell you, who will help in the Pigeon Palace? I will send you. The thing is, if you do what it takes for me to help you, and they'll go all out once that bribe is given. But I am very grateful. I'm hoping for this new orientation that has to do with the police and all of that, and hopefully we in society, that orientation will be given to us that we can now trust the police because of what is happening now, the way forward now, which is very, very important. And I just pray that this new orientation and the police and all of that has come to stay, so that we can trust the police more, and the police will do better, and the bad eggs should be, that's showing the way out, orientation, go back to the books.
We hope that works, because the police has earned itself too much of a bad image.
No, too much.
Over time. So there has to be deliberate, conscious, and continuous, sustained efforts to ensure that there's a re-engineering of some kind done within the police force. Let's take a quick break. When we return, we want to look at an issue beyond Nigeria. That is the tension that had been here between Israel and Iran, and what the ceasefire deal that President Trump has talked about the last few days actually means for both countries and, by extension, the Middle East. Following the announcement of a 12-day ceasefire with Israel, Iran says its right to peaceful nuclear energy can be challenged. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baqai echoed that position during a TV interview.
Iran has every right under NPT, under Article 4 of the NPT, to enjoy using nuclear energy for peaceful purposes, and Iran is determined to preserve that right under any circumstances.
On his part, President Donald Trump says the United States would hold nuclear talks with Iran next week, teasing the possibility of a deal even after boasting that recent U.S. strikes had...
It was so bad that they ended the war. It ended the war. Somebody said in a certain way, that it was so devastating, actually. If you look at Hiroshima, if you look at Nagasaki, that ended a war too. This ended a war in a different way, but it was so devastating.
Contrary to Trump's statements at the NATO summit in The Hague, leaked U.S. intelligence has reportedly cast doubts on that assessment, claiming the strikes had likely delayed Tehran by just a few months. Uyi Agmofwebe reporting for Global TV. Well, it's an ongoing issue. In journalism, we call it development story, right, about Israel and Iran. And there was a twist to it, right from that point where the U.S., quote-unquote, intervened in this tension. But the good thing is we're hearing now that there is a kind of peace deal in place, more like a ceasefire deal, which the president of the U.S., Donald Trump, has touted for a while now. We do hope that both parties and everyone else would cease fire. That way, there's a bright chance of dialogue towards finding lasting peace, not just tranquility of some kind. However, the concern has been around the interference. Some people say it's intervention by the United States, and they say that will likely, if you like, jolt other nations to join, whether it's Russia or China or North Korea, because that's what usually happens under circumstances such as we have right now. You're going to find countries aligning and realigning. You're going to find countries taking side and all of that. But so far, we understand that this peace deal, from what President Donald Trump is telling the whole world, is here to stay.
Hopefully it's here to stay. And of course, Iran, as we all know, it's a very, talking about their missiles and all of that. Well, hopefully it's here to stay, but I have my own opinion on that. But hopefully this peace pact is here to stay, and it will be the benefit of for individuals between Iran and Israel. Of course, we know that Iran is not likely to stand down anytime soon. Truly, it's my own opinion. But let's just hope and see where this focuses, and hope this peace is here to stay, basically, like we said. No comment, basically.
Well, it's important that we also state that Iran itself, I mean, you heard the Foreign Ministry spokesman just a few minutes ago say that Iran has the right to legitimately own nuclear weapon or nuclear energy for legitimate uses, all right? And you also cited the authority that gives Iran that power. Because like we said here time and again, if the other countries can have it, Israel, the UK,
Yeah, why can't?
US, exactly, all right? So all across Europe, China and Japan, why can't Iran have it, all right? They say sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander, all right? So if it's good for these other nations I've mentioned, it should also be good for Iran. So that should obviously be a part of the conversation that must be had in terms of the peace deal that is now in place. All right, well, so much to talk about Iran and all of these issues. But back at home, there's also been the issue of the DR Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, where we understand that things are getting better by the day in terms of, well, let's just say gradual peace being returned.
Very true.
Things being returned again to normal as we make progress. It's only in Kenya, we understand as of yesterday, 8 persons had died. Several others had been injured because of the 1-year anniversary of the strike, the protest that happened there against the government of President William Ruto last year. But we hope peace will return to all of these African nations, whether it's in the well, eastern part of the continent or somewhere in the central or even in West Africa, where we understand Mali, of course, Niger Republic, Ivory Coast, they are all having their own challenges here and there. But we just need peace across these continents. Otherwise, it will be difficult to talk about development on a continental level.
Very true. Of course, when there is no peace, no one is at war. A lot of individuals will be displaced. No one talks about work or any other things, just to keep a safe head. It's very important. But the thing is, without peace, there can never be any infrastructure or development. Everywhere will be. Look at Ukraine, for instance. There's nothing to write on that beautiful city. Do you know how beautiful that city was before now? Now with the war, bombardments of missiles and all of that, it's nothing to write home about. So development, of course, will stand down. But at the same time, we have to look inwardly and see how well this can all play out. You know, I mentioned on the program yesterday, I said for countries who are in support of this particular country or this particular country, it's all in their own benefit and what they will gain. No one cares whether it is to the detriment of peace or you're telling another country to stand down. As long as it's beneficial to your own country, that's the most important thing. Not for that genuine sincerity to say, okay, please stand down. Peace war is not the answer. Peace is the way forward. And of course you will know that it's only when it's beneficial, and that's when, because a lot of individuals make a lot of billions of naira when it comes to war. Yeah, of course, a lot, because missiles, troops that you give out, all of these things it surrounds money. So that is it, and that's just how it is. But hopefully peace should reign. It's very important.
Well, nothing well, compares to peace.
Nothing.
There's nothing you can give in exchange for peace.
Nothing.
And that's why you hear people, when they're troubled, they are deeply disturbed, to say, I don't know, I wish I could give all I have. Just have peace of mind. You know, of course, you won't understand that until you hear it from my mom's mouth.
And then you know what? We're talking about war now and how it affects other countries. Of course, it takes a toll on other countries also who have this bilateral relationship with other countries, warring countries. I mean, you'll be surprised how it will affect us here in Nigeria when it comes to the high cost of fuel and oil and all of that encompass, cocoa and all of that. It takes a toll. It doesn't matter whether you're not from there or your shared borders there or you're far off there. It will definitely take a toll. That's why war is not an answer. Really, it's not an answer.
All right, no better time to sheath our swords than now, so we can begin to walk the path towards not just peace, but lasting peace for Israel, for Iran, for the Middle East, and indeed for the entire globe. All right, let's step on our brakes again for a second. Take a quick break. When we return, so much to unpack for you on Global Morning Friday. Stay with us. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
What is your problem? What's your problem? We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
All right, so Thursday this week, 26th of June, like every other year, is set aside to commemorate. Some people will call it mark the International Day against illicit drugs specifically. All right, but beyond the razzmatazz, the paparazzi, all of the issues and the jamboree around it, it is more important that we look at what the crux of the matter is, which is the fact that we need to draw awareness to the dangers of drug abuse, not just in Nigeria, but across the world. I mean, look at what the trajectory shows to us, Jumai, how young people, more than ever before in the history of the world, are getting hooked on different kinds of drugs. As a matter of fact, it is the names that really get my head turning. We hear the names, some of the names, in fact, the one that has a name of a city in the U.S., Colorado. Yeah. So you hear that, you wonder, what does it even look like? What fun or kicks do people get from it? But it just shows you how this monstrous phenomenon has evolved over time.
And you know what, Oyi, talking about drugs and substance, for you and I that are not hooked on to drugs, we are grateful. So first of all, I like the fact that 26th of June is a day set out for say no to illicit drugs, and of course human trafficking when it comes to drugs. Yes, it shows that the government, they are aware that this is a monster. I love using that word because it is a monster in our society. And for those that are not hooked to drugs, you should be grateful in all levels. We shouldn't be judgmental, but at the same time, we should try as much as possible to encourage individuals to say no to drugs. Like you said, you mentioned Colorado. There are so many.
There's loud.
There's a lot. I'm funny enough, the cough mixture that's supposed to help us curb cough and cold is used. Talking about codeine, it's one of the most. It has been bound. Yes, it has been bound right now as I speak. And then the thing is, Mr. Uyi, a friend of mine, I did an interview 2007, if I'm not mistaken, and he said something to me. He said, Jumai, why do you think people troop into this particular lounge when you think it's for the shisha, you think? And I was like, yeah, isn't it vapor and the flavor? He said, no, because there's drugs in it. A lot of people do that. Now, is that bad? And people blame it on the fact that, oh, it's unemployment, oh, I need to stay focused, oh, I need it because a lot of things are happening in Nigeria, people are going through a lot, and people use that as an umbrella to use and misuse and abuse drugs and substance abuse. It's just unfortunate that this is what it is. And it's not just in Nigeria, it's all over the world. You know, I will keep mentioning the Indian lady that had the effrontery to put in wraps of drugs in chocolate, of all things, and brought it to Nigeria. Why? Because there's a large number of individuals who are hooked to drugs here.
Already market.
I told someone, yesterday, I mentioned, I said there's someone who, at that time, he was 42, 43, and he told me, Jumai, he got hooked to drugs at the age of 13, and it was his uncle that introduced him to drugs. So it starts from the household first. Those uncles that would tell a little boy of 12, of 10, go and get me that cigarette. From buying the cigarette, the guy becomes curious. So kids are very curious. What is this all about? And the uncle playfully thinking he's helping that child, okay, take a small drag, and that is it. That is it. That drag, that one drag that child takes, that is, it would either make or mar that child for the rest of that child's life if intervention is not taken with immediate effect. So I'm glad that day is set aside, because we as individuals, and of course our dear president, he understands the implication of drugs and substance abuse. When an individual is high, he can commit whatever. Do you know someone was hooked? There's a psychologist, may he so rest in peace, Mr. Issa, that comes on my program back in my days in radio. And he said something. He said, Juma, there was someone that was so hooked on drugs that he flew from a story building, I think maybe 6-story building, and he thought he was Superman. That's what drug does. It gives you that imagination of the impossible, making it possible. Right? That illusion. And it is bad. It needs to be curbed in our society. But at the same time, it might be hard to eradicate it completely, but at least it can reduce to the barest minimum. And when we start from there, it will go a long way gradually. This monster will begin to fade with immediate effect. You'll be surprised what drugs can do, what it has done to individuals, it has, especially our youths, especially children. It has no age. And that is why I like the awareness that some military wives, because I have a lot of them, who go to schools and create that awareness in secondary schools, sensitize young children, say no to drugs, no matter what it takes, say no to drugs. And you'll be shocked. The last sensitization we did in Jaji, there was a boy in JS2 that came out and said he's abusing drugs. JS2. You can imagine. At that age.
11, 12.
Exactly. And you just wonder, it's a monster, and it needs to be curbed. And the truth is, there's a lot that needs to be done when it comes to that, because a lot of cartels are making billions of naira when it comes to drugs, illicit drugs. People think that is the fastest way to wealth. And you'll be surprised how many people actually risk their lives. Celebs on TV, we've seen them, we've heard about how they ingest a lot of wraps, not even minding how long, and they'll tell you it can stay for 5 hours, 6 hours. If you do not bring this out of your system, it can lead to death. A lot of people are willing to take chances because they feel it's the fastest way out of poverty, it's the fastest way out to make wealth, it's the fastest way out to get rich quick. But you know, a lot needs to be done. It's not all about, like you say, lip service. A lot of individuals come out with lip service, but you need to create that awareness, that empowerment for you to know that. And I like the fact that we're actually telling people that, hey, you are not alone.
Right.
I understand that there is relapse. People tend to relapse when it comes to issues like this, but you are not alone. We see you, we feel you. But, you know, so the psychologist, like I mentioned, he says, when you want to say no to drugs, it starts with you first. You as an individual must know that, hey, I want to stop this. It's not leading anywhere.
Right.
You have to make up your mind first. That is the first road to treatment. That mind being made up. It's hard. It's not easy.
Right.
But that's the first road to treatment. Making up your mind to say no to drugs and substance abuse in order for you to move forward. The necessary counseling and treatment follows immediately.
Well, nothing to remove, nothing to add, as they say. Jumaide, just establishing the points as should be. But then we hope we continue to have this conversation every other day beyond June the 26th of each year. All right, we'll take another quick break now. 2 more discussions will be done and out of your way this Friday morning. The President, referencing Section 58, Subsection 4 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, explained that the bill seeks to empower the NDLEA to retain a portion of proceeds from drug-related crimes, a move, he said, contradicts existing financial regulations. He noted that under the current system, all proceeds of crime are paid into the government's confiscated and forfeited properties accounts. Disbursements to any recovery agency, including the NDLEA, can only be made by presidential approval, subject to the consent of the Federal Executive Council and the National Assembly. The President maintained that there is no compelling reason to alter a process designed to uphold accountability through executive and legislative oversight.
My decision is that the bill seeks to give the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency power to retain a portion of the proceeds of drug-related crime. Currently, all proceeds of crime must be paid into the confiscated and forfeited properties account. In addition to this, payments to the relevant organization responsible for recoveries can only be made by the President, subject to the approval of the Federal Executive Council and the National Assembly.
Meanwhile, 2 members of the House of Representatives have defected to the All Progressives Congress APC. Honorable Chimobi Sam Atu, representing Enugu South and Enugu North, and Honorable Joseph Uwobasi, representing Eza North, Ishielu Federal Constituency in Ebonyi State, announced their departure from the Labour Party and the All Progressives Grand Alliance, respectively, citing persistent internal crisis and the need to align with President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. The Speaker, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, formally announced their defections on the floor of the House. Following the announcement, Minority Whip Honorable Issa Jesse, relying on Section 68, Subsection 1G of the 1999 Constitution, urged the Speaker to immediately declare Honorable Atu's seat vacant.
After holistic consultations with my constituents and critical stakeholders, I have, therefore, moved to the All Progressive Congress effective today. This decision was necessitated by the persistent internal crisis plaguing the Labour Party, both at the national level and within the state chapter.
From the Labour Party to appeal to you to quickly declare the seat of the member vacant immediately. This, since he has violated section 68(1)(g) of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that he should declare his seat vacant and be courageous enough to do that today.
Uyi Agbomofegbe reporting for Global. Well, from that report now, we understand that the President has withheld assent to the NDLEA Bill 2025, which had been expected to be signed into law yesterday. The President has also cited two major reasons he held back his assent. One, he says that the idea that the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, can keep a portion of whatever they recover as proceeds of crime, which is of course from the sale of or trafficking of illicit drugs. All right, is only subject to the approval of the Federal Executive Council primarily. That's number one reason. Number two reason is that there are clauses in the bill that contravene or that run at variance with the with existing laws, whether it's the Constitution or extant laws and all of that. So long and short of the story is that President Bola Tinubu did not pen his signature, or as we say, did not, as it were, give his assent to that bill, which some analysts say is a setback for the NDLEA. But these aside, we can't take away from the fact that the agency has shown that the war against illicit drugs in particular, can be won. We have seen the successes they recorded time and again. We'll see what has changed since the NDLEA redefined itself, whatever redefined means now, right? This agency has been here for upwards of 25 years. I mean, it's been here since the 90s, even in the case of the military. But for the first time under the current leadership, we now see that certain things can be done remarkably differently. And that's why we see this news stories every other day about some syndicates pushing drugs, trafficking illicit drugs, that have been busted by the NDLEA, people being convicted, people being prosecuted, and how the agency is now better managing intel to be able to drive prosecution. I think this is the way to go, and we see how that even at the international level, Nigeria is now being recognized as a country that is committed to the fight against illicit drugs, beyond the politics that we used to play about it, and all of the things that we used to play. So hopefully we sustain these fights, continue to push the same energy in such a way that Nigeria ultimately will become a drug-free nation.
Yes, and of course, this is a step in the right direction, like I said, when I saw that. And of course, kudos to our president, this is amazing. Whatever proceeds you get from illicit drugs and crime, they should keep it, because they do things beneficial to our own society. By the way, the NDLEA, they have a particular section where they try to rehabilitate individuals who are into drugs. Did you know that? They do that, yes. So I'm sure most of these proceeds will enhance of course to help individuals who are already hooked on drugs to come out of it, when it comes to their psyche, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to helping them in cases of relapse and all of that. So
and they better reintegrate them into society.
Exactly. So, and at the same time, this is an amazing step. So individuals will know. Those are individuals out there who are into trafficking illicit drugs. They should have it at the back of their minds that it's not business as usual, where you can wiggle your way out of it, or at least no one talks about the amount of it. We only get to hear, but we do not know where these amounts go to. It's a step in the right direction that, hey, most of these proceeds are going into this particular agency in order to better what it has or what it needs at that point. So it's not business as usual. It's a whatever it is, once you traffic illicit drugs, it's a lose situation for you, because it's causing it's very detrimental to the society and of course the individuals at hand. So this is a step in the right direction. Kudos to the NDLEA. They are doing a lot when it comes to reforming, when it comes to the awareness, when it comes to curbing, trying as much as possible to curb drugs and substance in our society, and of course drug abuse in general, which is good. Kudos. And at the same time to our president, who recognizes that abuse of drugs and substance is a menace in our society, and in order to help in doing this, fantastic.
Well, quite fantastic, no doubt about that. Again, we take another break. This time it's going to be our last break, after which we do goodbyes this beautiful weekend that is upon us. Please stay with us. Is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
What is your problem? What's your problem? We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. Know that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world.
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
What is your problem? What's your problem? We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. Do you know that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
They told you education is the key. They said, go to school. But why are so many graduates purposeless and jobless? On EduShift, we spot the cracks. We challenge the educational system. Torn between science, arts, and commerce, we bring clarity and answers to your questions, and we light up the path for a generation ready to stand out. Come enjoy discussions with educators, employers, and counselors. Let us fix this problem of career misalignment and help you discover yourself. EduShift, only on Global TV.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
All right, so let's begin to wrap things up, everyone now. But wrapping things up also means we want to talk a little about rapper. All right.
I like that.
Right.
Oh my goodness, Mr. Uyi, you have a good sense of humor.
Well,
really? I see you. I'm sure everyone sees you like that very serious. Exactly.
Yeah,
I thought I was the only one that was thinking it. But really, when you said, let's wrap this up, I was like, where did that come from? I had to say it.
But that's one thing. Jim and I were just chit-chatting a while ago about how that's a time there was in this country where the textile industry was not only big, it was a major contributor to our GDP.
Yes.
All right, end to end, whether in the north and the south, textile as an industry was doing amazingly well. Robust, vibrant, contributory industry. But today that's not the case. We now have to buy labels from Europe, from Asia, and even from some other parts of the Middle East. Where did we get it wrong, actually? I was just telling Jumai, for example, that in my city, there's still till today a street called Textile Mill Road.
Oh my goodness!
Right, so that even if you were born just 20 years ago, it gives you an idea how that there must have been something industrial about that road many decades ago.
Definitely.
So how did we get disconnected? How did we lose all of that? I remember growing up, for example, my mom would open some of her boxes, very big boxes from time to time. You see those fabrics smelling new, like they just came from a shop.
Oh yes.
With some of these scents you put inside the boxes and all of that. Exactly. But today we don't see ladies do much of that. Everybody is doing. Is it ready to wear? They call it now.
Ready to ready-made.
Ready-made. Yeah.
And you know, back in the day, I remember my mom. My mom, she actually does this when it comes to wrappers. She's a wholesaler when it comes to wrapper for fabrics, of course. When it comes comes to, you see the stacks in her, all her shops with
all the waxes.
Oh my goodness, I still remember some of the names. I was listening to them, I still remember. I know there is Nichem Wax, I see Super Prints, the Hollandis, you know, and all of these things. And you just wonder what happened to these these manufacturers that were there. And I'm telling you, and you know, the wholesalers, you buy in so much, as in you buy in bales. I still remember. Oh my goodness, not bad. It comes in it's like maybe like one particular pattern will have like maybe 12 or 20 like that. So different bales. She had bales of, and they were all Nigerian products, and people were always, you know, back in the day, it was something that a lot of people loved to purchase and all of that. Right. But now, you do not see that anymore. Most of these textile companies, they're nowhere to be found. Like I mentioned, Nichem Wax, I still remember, and Super Print and all of that. And you wonder, and you say to yourself, what is happening? What has gone wrong? And you said we generated a lot of revenue when it comes to that.
When you say Nichem Wax, Gen Z probably would think you're talking about a brand of candles.
But seriously, that was a textile Nichem. And now we have other brands, but at the same time, it's not as much as how it was back in the day. Like, we don't hear that. And there was so much, it created an avenue for employment opportunities. A lot of people came, purchased, you had people in that company that worked, and all of that. But now it's a different ballgame entirely. But we hope we get to that point where this sort of lucrative business can come up again, and Nigeria can have that value that it had in that production of textile clothing.
Brilliant.
And with that, we have to wrap it up on the program Global Morning. Thank you all so much for being a part of the program. Hope you had an amazing time with us. And for those of you that watched till this time, you got a chance to hear Mr. Uyi being fun.
I mean, more coming.
More coming. And like I said, it's a wrap on Global Morning. Thank you all so much for being a part of the program. I am Jumai Manson and my amazing co-host.
I'm Uyi Agumofebe. Have a big weekend ahead of you.
Bye-bye.